Okay. All right, everyone, we are going to get started today. So anyone that's joining us online, please make sure to keep your microphone muted during the presentation. That way we can get to your questions at the end of the presentation and we don't have any more technical difficulties. My name is Emily Parson, and I am the administrative assistant for the Coeur d'Alene Center. And today I am here to teach you guys about the programs Microsoft OneDrive and Microsoft OneNote. These programs are available to you as LC State students for free, and they're both really great for helping with collaborative work and organizing and just keeping everything all together all the time. So for the first 30 to 40 minutes today, just depending on how long it takes, we're going to be doing the presentation and talking about each of the different programs. And then the remainder of the time will be saved for any questions that you guys have. So hold on to those questions until the end, unless obviously it's like while I'm working on something and you just have a quick note to make. Dana will be monitoring the chat for our online participants. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. All right. So with OneDrive and especially OneNote, there are a lot of different things that we can dive into, and we could spend all day talking about them. But for today, we're going to just have a few key takeaways after the workshop. So I want you guys to understand the purpose of each of these applications and why you would want to use them. I want you to be able to find all of your Microsoft 365 resources. We'll create some notebook sections in Microsoft OneNote. I'll show you guys how to create a to-do list in OneNote. I'll show you the tags feature, and I'll also show you how to share your notes with other people. So if maybe you miss a class or one of your fellow students misses a class, you can just say, hey, here are my notes from the last class, and you can easily work on them together as well. So first, let's talk about what is OneDrive. So OneDrive is the Microsoft Cloud storage service that connects you to all of your files. So an example here is Google Drive. That's something that's a cloud service that you can store all of your files. This is just the Microsoft version of that. So if you have been a student with us for a little while and you had your old LC Mail account, your LC Mail account was powered by Google. So a lot of students used Google Drive to store their files and access them remotely. But now you have all of the Microsoft applications, and that's why OneDrive is so important. So anything that you want to be able to access from multiple devices, you have the OneDrive app that you can specifically download to see all of your files. And then if you want to be doing any collaborative work with students in any of the Microsoft applications, OneDrive is where you're going to store those files so you can see all of the updates and changes that other students have made. So then you're not having to send around, version 2, version 3, Terry's edits and Craig's edits. It'll all be in one, and you don't have to be trying to combine everything together and keep the copies up to date because it'll just do that automatically. So this is, again, where you're going to store and protect your files, share them with others, and then if you are either using computers, in a library, or maybe your computer completely breaks down and you need to access your files, if you have them stored in OneDrive, you can come borrow a laptop from us. You can use library computers, anything like that, and still be able to access your work without worrying about it being saved to a physical hard drive on a different computer. Next, we're going to talk about OneNote. So OneNote is a digital note-taking app that's powered by Microsoft. It provides a single place to keep all of your notes, research, plans, and information. You can create an unlimited number of notebooks depending on what you're taking notes on. You can organize everything and you can share them with all different people throughout your classes or school, anything like that. And then you can also use it to link other Microsoft applications. So for example, We use OneNote in our office now for all of our staff meetings, and I can link the meeting from our calendar to the note page that we're taking notes on and send out the notes to everyone who's a part of that meeting. So there's like unlimited ways to link everything together, but we're gonna just go into the surface level a little bit today. And then one other thing that's really, really cool about OneNote is I'm not sure if any of you guys have used the Control F function on your computer to find a keyword. If you have an online textbook, you can also do that in your notebook. So if you're like, oh, I know that in social work 341, we talked about this one specific thing, but I can't remember exactly where I wrote it down, you can search for that phrase and find it in your notebook. You can do either. You can search through your entire notebook that's attributed to your account, or you can go per section. Yep. All right. So I want you guys to be able to find all of these applications easily. After you find them this first time, you can bookmark them. But again, like if you're going to be working on a community computer or something that's shared, you want to have a good route to get to all of these applications. So you're going to start by going to lcsc.edu. That's our homepage. And you're going to click on this For You tab. You're going to want to make sure that current students is selected here because there are a bunch of different options, and that will change the links that are available to you on the right-hand side. So current student is selected, and then you're going to click on your Warrior Mail. So your Warrior Mail is your student email account that is linked and processed through Microsoft. Once you get into your Warrior Mail account, you're going to look for these 9 dots here in the upper left-hand corner. Click on those, and then you're going to see a menu of a bunch of different Microsoft apps that you have access to use. So you can get to Word from here, Excel, PowerPoint, your email, obviously you're already in, but once you click on any of these, they all have that same 9 dots in the upper left-hand corner so that you can easily switch between the different applications. So either click on OneDrive or OneNote right now to just check it out. And I'll show you, this is going to be what your home page for OneDrive looks like. We also use Microsoft Teams in our office a lot, which is the instant messaging platform. So I get these things at the top of my homepage here that says, hey, Dana shared this in the Teams chat. And it's available in your OneDrive because she saved it and shared it as a OneDrive file. She shared this in the Teams chat. And then here's one of my Excel spreadsheets that I have saved as a OneDrive file. And so it keeps your most recently opened or shared at the top. But then if you scroll down, it will show you all of your files specifically that you have saved in OneDrive. And if you've been working in the online Microsoft 365 platform at all, it will be saving your spreadsheets or your Word docs or anything like that to your OneDrive because you're already in that online platform. You can go over to the side and look at your files specifically. You can filter by anything shared with you as a OneDrive file. You can favorite some files if there's something you're going back to consistently, like a research project for your social work senior year, anything like that. You can browse files by people. So I know that Dana and I share files back and forth all the time. And if I want to find something that I know she only shared with me, I can search by her name. You can look at the files that were shared with different meetings. And you can look specifically for files that are only media types. So pictures, JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs, stuff like that. So that's what your OneDrive homepage looks like. And then OneNote, yours may look a little bit more empty than mine because I've been using OneNote like crazy. But this will show you all of your different sections and notebooks that you have that you've been working on. You can search for a specific section, and that's how you can get into OneNote from just clicking that application and going to the home page. It is important to note with all of these Microsoft applications, you have the option to download them onto your computer and work from your hard drive. And there are some different functions and features that are available on the downloaded version versus the online version. There's just some more options in some of the applications, specifically like Microsoft Excel, but in OneNote, there are some differences, and I'll show you guys those differences when we go through OneNote together. So we are actually going to leave the PowerPoint and go into a OneNote notebook that I have prepared for this specific presentation. We're going to talk about some of the key important features of using OneNote. Just like any of the Microsoft applications, the top portion has, home, insert, all the main font changes that you can make. And then, let's see. Okay, well, our first feature that we are going to go through is creating sections. So when you have a OneNote notebook, at the very top here, you can see Emily at Lewis Clark State College. That is most likely what yours is going to look like as well. So it might say Terry at Lewis Clark State College. That is your main notebook. You can create multiple notebooks. So if you wanted to, change it to having a separate notebook for home, work, school, you could. You could keep it all in the same notebook and just create different sections. So that's what I've done here on the left-hand side. The OneNote workshop is a section within my notebook. I put in a little social work class here. So if you were to start using this notebook to take class notes, you'd want to make a section for your class. And then within each section, you add pages. So just like if you had a physical notebook in front of you, this is your social work notebook, and this is page 1 and page 2. But to create a section, you go down here to the bottom where it says add section. You can enter the name of your section. We'll just say business 333 and add. So now that has its own section in your whole notebook. And then it starts you off just one untitled page. To change the name of the untitled page, you actually have this line right here at the top left, and that's where you're going to put the titles for each of your pages to keep things organized. So we'll just put today's date on there. You can see it changed from untitled page to now 9/16/24. This is what I would recommend doing if you're taking class notes. So say you have your social work class that you had this morning. I don't know if it's 341 or not, but that's the one I have in here. Yeah. So we've got our social work 341. We've got our notes page here from the very first day of class, and then the following week after that. So then you can go through and say, I know that in week 1, we covered this topic. So I'm going to go back through my week 1 notes and look at them. While you guys are in taking notes, one of the things that can be a little, I'll say off-putting or weird, is that with a Word document, say you just click into it and you just start typing, and it has a specific format. On here, you click into any spot in your notebook and start typing, and it can just be in its own little section off to the side. And then when you hover over it, you can move it to wherever you want it to be. So it's kind of fun to think of it as a whiteboard, because you can move each section where you want it to be. It doesn't have to just be in that linear, straight down format that you would have for a Word document. Another function that is extremely helpful, other than being able to use this cross-platform, is that you can use the draw function. So if you're just using a computer, you can still use the draw function up here at the top. You'll change, I think I'm going to draw with a pen and blue, and you can draw all over the page. But you can also, if you are working off of a tablet, something like that, and you have an Apple Pencil or a Samsung stylus, you can have the same note page open. Maybe you took a whole page of notes, and then you can add your own, arrows, smiley faces, stars, anything like that. So if you prefer to take notes by hand, you can always just do that on here as well. If you have a tablet with a pen, you can use the draw function with the mouse to add those arrows and stars and, come back to this. It's super important. But if you do like to take notes by hand and you have that ability to do so, then you can use the draw function instead of just typing everything out. Something else that I find incredibly helpful, I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but when I see a wall of text on a white background, my brain immediately shuts off and says, I don't want to read any of that. That hurts my brain. I can't differentiate between any of the notes. And you can actually change your page color so that maybe it's less harsh on the eyes. You can add rule lines so that it's an actual notebook page. Instead of just a normal notebook, you could also do grid lines if that's something that you want to do. A lot of people like to do bullet journaling with grid lines, stuff like that. So you always have the option to change the view on here so that you can color code things, make it a little more visually appealing, or if you just want it to be a little bit easier on the eyes than the white background, I typically change the background of my notes for that reason. You can insert content into any of your notebooks. So I have 4 different types of content on here. This is a Word document here. And when you insert that content, you can insert a file printout. So then it'll just show the whole thing here and not just attach a file. You can just attach a file if you want, but if you want to be able to see this next to your notes, you can insert it as a file printout. And then on the online version, you're only able to insert a file printout of Word documents and PDFs. But if you are working on the desktop version, you can also insert a spreadsheet. And so this is just a sample spreadsheet straight from Excel, and I was able to insert the entire thing so that it's visible. But I was only able to do this on the desktop application. Yeah, the online version, you can insert Word documents and PDFs. And then go back to my mouse clicker instead of my drawing tool. Yeah, so here under the Insert tab at the top, there's File and then File Printout. And that's what's going to show you the entire file on here. Is it at the top? Are you still on your drawing tool? So click back to the Draw tab. And then up here where there's the little mouse cursor on the left-hand side, click on that. Yep, I just had the same thing happen. Yep, so now you can insert those file printouts. So, and it depends on how your classes do it, right? I had a class in college where the information was so plentiful that the instructors had basically fill in the blank notes. So they're like, we don't want you to miss anything, but we want you to still be engaged. So if I had been using this at that time, I could just insert the fill in the blank notes here, take notes either on my iPad or with my computer and just fill them in OneNote without having to transfer things. That's the file printout. Yep. Yeah. Yes. When we're looking at other types of content to insert, you can put images in there. If you put a link to a video, it will also pop the video up just in your notes. You can watch it in the notepad directly, or you can go straight out to YouTube to watch the video. And then again, this is what the difference looks like on the desktop app. So at the top where we have that insert file button, on the full desktop application, you have the option to insert spreadsheets and other file types as well. Okay. One of the most useful reasons to use OneNote, aside from keeping everything online, all in one place, is the tags function. So using tags while you are taking notes will help you so that later you can come back to things, right? You're familiar with highlighting your notes, this is important, that's important, but there's also functions for adding checkboxes to make a to-do list, adding an important note here. So, maybe you want to make sure this is highlighted, but it's also very important, so you add the star. So we'll use these notes as an example. You can go through, and in the Home tab at the top, there's this tags button. So you have a to-do tag, important, question. Questions are really exciting because then okay, they talked about this, but I'm still not quite sure what this has to do with XYZ. And then you can come back and look for all your question marks. You can also see it says remember for later, or this is a definition of this word, or say someone puts you see someone's name in a presentation, or they say, hey, my colleague at this place can help with XYZ. You can add that contact tag, so then you remember, I want to contact this person later. Anytime you have an idea, you can put ideas, you can designate it between different project types and all sorts of different cool things here. You can also customize tags specifically to you. So for example, in our staff meeting that we do, I do all of our staff meeting notes digitally, and I've customized and added an Emily to do, Dana to do, Justine to do. So then after the meeting, we know what tasks we have, brought up that need to get done, and then I can summarize all of them. So this is the main difference between the desktop app and the online version. When you have the desktop app, you can go in to where it says the tags, and you can click find tags. You can search by your entire notebook. Again, you can search just by the specific section that you're in, and it will bring up every single tag that you have put into your notes. And then you can create a summary page of it. And when you create the summary page, it puts everything in the individual categories. So, instead of just seeing the little pictures, that's a star or a contact or a highlight, now when you actually click remember for later as the tag, it's not just a random highlight. It's right there in your summary list of, I wanted to remember this for later. I had a question about these different things. These are my to-do list items that came up. And, this is a really critical piece of information I don't want to miss. So, the tags on here, the checkboxes, the stars, the highlights, they may be helpful, but they do mean something. And when you put that summary together, that's where you can really differentiate between your different tags and get your notes and your homework assignments and everything a lot more organized. Okay. So that being said, we're going to go through and create a to-do list on just a new section in your notebook. And again, I've given some example categories here because if you want to be keeping everything in one spot for school and work and home, having a big to-do list page that has every category on there keeps it all in one place. Then you can just go back to that master to-do list and say, okay, I know what my week looks like. I know when I need to get X, Y, and Z done. So what I did here is I just clicked into the notebook randomly and started typing my topics here. So we'll say business 333 homework. And then once I have this in here, I can change the color of the text. I can change the size of the text, bold it, and then I've got my list of headers here. And when I want to add some to-do list items, I can add the to-do list tag and then type in what I have to do. This way you can keep all of your homework assignments in one place. And you can do this week by week if this is something that you want to keep up to date so that you don't have multiple lists in different locations, one big list that's just always growing, never getting any smaller. You can separate it out by week. You know, on Monday, you can say, okay, I'm going to go through and make sure I have all of these tasks situated. And then you can add, you know, the days that you can work on these. So maybe we're just adding groceries to the list. So we need some eggs, milk, etc. And you have the list here, but you know, then you have everything else going on. We can also, I'm going to draw on my little iPad here. You could, you know, put a little star here and say, we need to do this on Saturday. You can go through, get everything laid out that you have to do, and then go through and organize it so that it's not floating around in your brain. And as a student, you know, organizing your homework and your assignments and your classes and your discussion posts, everything like that can be hard enough. But if you're a student that also has to work, that also has to maintain a home, feed your kids, do the grocery shopping, this is a great tool to keep everything in one location. The last thing that we're going to cover is inviting students to collaborate. So in this upper right-hand corner here, we have the share button. You can share your entire notebook. So even if, you know, say your partner or your kids have access to use these notebooks and have Microsoft access, you can share the notebook with them and say, this is what my week looks like. You're up to date. I have all my stuff in one place and we're on the same page. You can have a shared to-do list between the household, keep everyone organized, and you can copy the link, then you can manage access. So if you want someone to just be able to view the information, you know, say you want to just give someone some notes, they missed a class, you want them to only be able to view, you can change that setting here. You can change it to can edit. So if you're working on a group project and you say, okay, everyone, make sure you add your notes to this by this date, you can see where everyone has added their notes, everyone can edit it. And then that way, again, you're not having those multiple different versions being passed back and forth, different emails. You know, this keeps everyone in the same spot, keeps it all together. And then especially if you're working on a group project in a class where you have notes on the project in a different section, you can copy and paste stuff over. You can link to that specific page in your notebook. Say, okay, I know we need to do this part of the project. link it back to week 2 notes. That way it's all there. Okay, so like I said, there's a lot of different things we can do with this. I would encourage you, if you're looking to move your notes into one location and you want to just get it all organized, start looking into OneNote so you can organize your class notes, assignments, group work, anything like that. And if you have any more questions about it, about the cool stuff that you can do with it, my door is always open. Come talk to me. I would love to geek out about it with you. But for now, that's all we're going to cover. Who has questions and how can I help answer them? Yes, Terry. Yes. Yeah. Right. So Terry asked, for those of us online, what is the cloud? What does that mean? Is it a hard drive somewhere or something like that? So imagine you have your computer, right? You got your box. It has its memory inside the box. That's a hard drive. That's just saving things on one computer. The cloud is basically multiple giant warehouses full of those hard drives on the internet. And you can access your specific portion of storage with your Microsoft login information. So the cloud is important because instead of, say, carrying your laptop everywhere, or maybe your laptop dies and you need to get to something on your phone, but it's only on there and it's not in the cloud helps be able to access it from everywhere, but it's still secure with your login information as if it were saved on your hard drive, right? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Craig. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Yep. So Craig asked for our online viewers, if you are working on your OneNote on offline mode, if you're not connected to the internet, but you have the application downloaded on your computer, any of the work that you're doing while offline, as soon as you reconnect to the internet, it will save it to the cloud and update. So if you have ever seen in your file folders or even in the cloud, there will be a little arrow symbol. That means we're still refreshing and we're getting everything that's happened since we last connected. And then once it's all connected and everything's been uploaded, you'll get a little check mark symbol saying, yep, everything's up to date. Any changes that were made are now showing on your current document. Any other questions? Mhm. Yes. So Craig asked if he can share any of this information to outside organizations, anyone that's not currently an LC student. You can. If you try to share a link to the file, it'll share, the link will have the title, SharePoint / Craig Newsome or something like that. And that's where, when you manage the access that people have, so when you have share and manage access, you can just put in an email. Anyone that's part of LC, student emails will pop up if you start putting their names in. So that's the benefit to sharing within your organization. But you can put in anyone's email, just give them the link to view it. If they don't have Microsoft access, that will have a difficulty for them to edit it. But if they have access to Microsoft through their own means, then they can edit it, view it, share it. You can also just share like a printout of the page itself. So let's see. And that might be a desktop function as well. But I was in a meeting a week ago or so. I took online notes. I said, all right, guys, I'm going to share the notes with you. And I wanted to just email them the notes and not a link because sometimes it gets lost. You just want a quick look at the notes. So I just sent them a quick printout of that notes page to their email, and then they get it as a PDF and can read through what I had made. They obviously won't be able to edit any part of that because it's a PDF now, but that's it. You can share it outside the organization. Mhm. You can share individual sections and individual pages. Let's see. So we're in an individual page here. Manage access. Okay, I think the link settings. To be able to go through and do individual pages, that might be a full desktop version thing, but I will check into it and I can get back to you on that. Going through and putting together these presentations, I had to really switch into the mind of a student and do everything online for the presentation portion. But for all of my daily work that I do, I use the Note, like OneNote app on my desktop, and it has some really great functions. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. These, or like the boxes in general. Hmm. Okay, Terry's question is, how did I get all of my titles here on this to-do page to line up nicely? And the answer is, I'm a perfectionist. And I did eyeball it and like really move stuff around. Right. Yes. To insert a table. Yes. Here, it's got me. Where am I? Okay. Yes, Craig. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the question was, can we link calendars? Can we link Canvas for assignments? And can we link contact lists into OneNote? The answer is yes. What I would recommend is with your Canvas, and I'll cover this next week in the Outlook presentation, there is a way to import your Canvas calendar directly into your Outlook calendar so you're not switching between the different applications, where you can see all of your assignments, and then your Outlook calendar and Outlook email links to your OneNote. So for example, up here I can click on meeting details, and we'll see if it lets me do this easily. If I log in, now it shows my calendar for the day, and I click on that, and it just imported the meeting details, the participants of the meeting, people that have accepted it, and then you can click that email meeting notes button, and then you can pretty much connect all of the Microsoft applications to one another, but that's also why you want to use OneDrive, because OneDrive is that cloud piece that will connect any of your Excel files, any of your Word documents, all in the cloud. And so then when you're trying to import stuff and access it, you can import directly from OneDrive and it's all connected. Does that make sense? Okay. Do we have any other questions? Are there any questions online? I don't see anything in the chat. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, actually, so yes. So something that might be referring to is it depends on how you accessed it the first time and if you were accessing it like on a desktop version a second time. But basically, like for our meeting notes, it's shared with our whole group. And anytime Dana or Justine adds to the notebook, it adds a line and their initials next to it saying they added this. And then it like their colors are green and purple, I think. So anytime they change stuff, like Dana will have a purple line and her initials. So that might be what. Yeah. Yeah, and then you'll be able to see too if you have a shared notebook and if anyone's made any changes to it since the last time you were on it, even if it was you doing it from a different device, there will be a little dot next to the page just saying, hey, someone's been on the note page if you want to check it out. Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Again, I am here Monday through Friday. I have kind of dove headfirst into all things Microsoft and all of the cool applications that come with that over the summer. So if you have any questions about any other Microsoft applications that you want to start using, there are so many that you can utilize. If you just look at this list here, I mean, they all do different things. They all have benefits. They all connect to each other. And there's lots of ways to make your life more efficient. Yes, Craig? The header itself, I don't think so, unless up in the settings, potentially, you can, let's see, you, um, there's a way to change like your default settings. So I've changed my default font on the desktop app to be, Georgia 12-point font so that it looks the way that I want it to look. Whereas on the online one, I haven't set any of that up. So it's just defaulting to the Calibri 11-point font. And I would be willing to bet that there's an option to change that header. You can also just change the name of each page. Let's see. You can change the name of the pages without having to put it in the title bar. So if you wanted to leave that blank, you can, if that bothers you. I can just show you guys real quick while we have a couple of minutes. One of the cool things that I've added. So we have a student services notebook that I created for all of us. I have a bunch of notes in here for all sorts of different cool things, but this is where our weekly staff meetings are. And yesterday I was working on creating a new meeting agenda layout, and we can just type directly in that and move stuff around. And that image that I created in Canva is now just a background and is now going to be our standard staff meeting, stuff that we cover. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? We have about 10 minutes left, technically. If we have more questions, if you need help with anything. And again, my door is always open if you want to ask any questions in person. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, I think that'll do it then. I don't think we have any questions online.